was maybe 4 years into my like full-time involvement with the bakery. We got a phone call and they were like, would you like to buy our pie company? I thought about it and I was like, okay. And I talked to them. And they sent me some pictures of their place. And I was like, we sampled their product and we went out to their bakery and looked at it. And I made them an offer. And I said, it was like a no cash deal. And we would buy all their equipment, make their product for them, and we would make it at cost. And the margin would go back towards paying for the equipment and the purchase of the business. And I thought, there's no way in hell they're going to go for this. I didn't even tell my mom I was working on it. And they just said yes. And I was like, holy moly.
Look what you've gotten into.
I was like, Mom, I did this thing. Or I did this thing. And like, they said yes. And like, you want to come see it?
Welcome to The Decision from Nashville EO, where you will hear the rest of the story after tough decisions were made by entrepreneurs who faced adversity and lived to tell about it.
Hi, Robert Hartline here with The Decision, EO Nashville's podcast on important decisions that we can make in our business and our lives. And today I have Will Wilson, Tennessee Cheesecake. This guy is like a dealer of the sugar, bringing it in a huge facility in Lebanon, Tennessee. You have a really great story. I want to hear it.
Okay. So my name's Will. I'm the CEO at Tennessee Cheesecake, and I'm second generation. So my mother started this business way back in 1981. So it was definitely a lifestyle business for her. It was not like North Star build a dessert factory. It was just something she could do to support herself while she was raising her kids. And, so that the bakery.
Right out of your kitchen?
Yeah. So it started in the kitchen. She, just with a great product. And she literally, one of her first customers was Ray Danner. You may remember Ray Danner. He was the architect of Shoney's. And at the time in the 80s, Shoney's was one of the largest restaurant chains in the country. And she literally took Ray Danner a cheesecake in a Tupperware container just to his house.
Wow.
And he was like, if you can make these, I'll buy them. And he put them in the fifth quarter and the sailmaker, which is, which at the time was like a white tablecloth, not fine dining, but like nicer casual dining style restaurant here in Nashville. And that was kind of where it got started. Just in her kitchen, moved from the kitchen to the basement of the house I grew up in. And I mean, I tell you what, you could not pay me to be interested in the business when I was growing up. I had no interest.
What was that like growing up? Because you didn't know anything else, but you know that your mom made these awesome cheesecakes.
The house always smelled like cheesecakes.
Right.
And like the house always smelled like cheesecakes, Robert. Yeah. Like it always smelled like cheesecakes. And like work-life balance, that was kind of a dream. Because my parents could just walk downstairs to their business and they worked all the time.
What were the roles between your mom and your dad?
Just as you would expect, like they wore a lot of hats, running a super small business. I mean, it was them and a single employee or them and two employees for many, many years. And they got their first break with a local distributor, which used to be Robert Orr, and Robert Orr became Cisco. And that was kind of how they got their foot in the door with the restaurant industry. And literally, Cisco would pull up at the end of the driveway, and we would just load cheesecakes into the truck.
I'm sure your neighbors love that.
Oh, no. And, no. You can't do this anymore.
Right.
You literally cannot start a business this way anymore.
Yeah.
So in retrospect, it was a interesting and wild childhood to just have these like super entrepreneurial parents. But I didn't get it then. I was busy doing my own thing, which was music. So I was, I spent, most of my high school career playing in rock bands and went on to study music in college and didn't get hooked on the business until around 2004. So
what brought you in?
Well, I'd helped my mom she thought she wanted to open a retail store. Do you have any experience with retail?
Oh, yeah.
I know you do. And we both decided very quickly after opening the store that we had basically zero interest in working on the weekends and hosting retail hours. Right. That's where you make money, right? The weekends. So it's, I helped her open the store.
Where was the store?
It was in Green Hills, kind of in where the Donut Den is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was in that little shopping center there.
How did it do?
It was fine.
Yeah.
But, like a small retail store, like it's not
scalable.
No, it's not going to rain money out of one tiny, get some coffee and cheesecake, kind of walk away with a whole cake occasionally kind of store.
What was the decision to pivot and choose another way of getting your product out?
I don't know if there were a lot of decisions that were made around that. It was kind of where we were in that stage of just say yes to everybody with money. They came and said, "Hey, I'd like to give you money for cheesecake." And we were so broke, we just said yes every time. And fortunately, the right people started to say, "Hey, can we have some of your cheesecake?" Because really, it was just a product and a dream. There was no fancy business plan. There was no investors. It was just my mom. And literally until 2004 when I graduated college and I needed a job. And the reason I needed a job has to do with all of your fancy digital setup, because now you can do this in your house. And that happened basically right when I graduated college, and I couldn't get a job in the music business in Nashville.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Nashville. And I couldn't even get an unpaid internship.
Well, it's like that today. I mean, it's always, like this dream of music. Same here. I came here to Nashville, Tennessee for music. And,
oh, really?
And but I could see how that, you would go, well, what am I going to do next?
Right. I mean, at some point you have to
what was your first role?
Everything, anything and everything. When I started, the bakery had just moved to a commercial space over in West Nashville, in the Love Building, right behind the Dark Horse Theater off Charlotte.
Yeah.
We were in that space. It was 2,000 square feet, and it was still wear all the hats. So I jumped in and ran a mixer and loaded an oven, and at that time we were still carbon copy invoices.
Right.
And I was just like, "Mom, we got to get QuickBooks. We at least at the very, and then I was like, Mom, we should really strawberry swirl. Like we should do other flavors. We did original, chocolate swirl, cherry swirl, and that was it.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, people like strawberry.
Yeah.
And, so one thing led to another, and I just got sucked in.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it. And I hadn't looked back.
So when you were growing up, did your parents have a community like EO?
Not really. I'm sure there was
a group of...
Yeah. It's, without the internet, that kind of I don't really know. I was too young. I'm sure there were peer groups. I know my mom had a mentor. She had a score mentor who was really helpful to her. He was just a fantastic guy, came from corporate America and retired and then volunteered for score. And she really looked up to him, and he really helped her when she was trying to figure out how to get out of the basement, that kind of decision.
What was the biggest decision that you think Tennessee Cheesecake had to navigate since 1981?
Oh my gosh, since 1981. Staying in business. It's such a struggle as a small business to make that decision to be broke and to accept the burden of running a business. And And I know my parents struggle with that. Because that's what they want. You know, it's almost like they can't believe that it worked out. It's like like when I still talk to my mom almost every single day. She is 67 and she might tell you today that she was retired. But she still loves the business, and she is the best third-party consultant that, $0 could hire. And she will still tell me that she just can't believe it because it was such a struggle for so long. And so, and that happens with all business, right? I mean, you can't see what you don't know 5 or 10 years down the road.
Since you've been at the helm, what's been the toughest either life decision or business decision you've had to navigate?
Yeah, it's actually pretty recent. We didn't know we had a terrible culture. And, it's kind of the same idea. You just don't know what you don't know. And, the decision to change the culture in a very deliberate way was super hard. And how do you do that?
Well, how did you discover it first off?
Well, I think hindsight's 2020. And I feel like that is true about lots of big decisions you make. You didn't know it was big. Maybe every once in a while, but you just didn't know it was so impactful until you walk past it and you can look back on it and reflect. And for us, and this happened about 1.5 years ago. And, we're manufacturers. And if you're in a manufacturing environment, there is a tendency for the chaos to pile on you, whether that's inventory or quality or efficiency or whatever that might look like. And the chaos was just piling on. And we didn't know it. It's like death by 1,000 cuts. It's totally crazy in here. It was like that yesterday. It's just totally, it's just normal.
You get accustomed to chaos and chaos adds more chaos. And then you get addicted to chaos. And then we actually fix the chaos because you got tired of it. Then you sabotage yourself because you missed the chaos. So it's so screwed up. And it's just it's just part of what it is. So you got a problem. How did you solve it?
Yeah. So the problem was I was focusing on me and not the team. I wasn't focusing on growing my people. I was focusing on my projects and my work. And I thought that was the most important. I was going to push the rock over the mountain.
Yeah.
And, I'm a really good pusher, Robert. I can push some big rocks. I don't know if you know anybody in EO that feels like they can push big rocks.
Oh, we all think we can push the big rocks.
I mean,
yeah.
But the greatest leaders that I know don't push any rocks. They teach their whole team how to push, and it's super easy.
Yeah, we think it's a badge of honor. That's a classic good to great story of level 4 leadership, where the level 4 leader is all about themselves, can do it all. They're blasting on the news of how awesome they are. And to get to the next level, it's about how awesome the team is.
Yeah.
Celebrating when people are successful, owning the mistake when it's someone else's, it's my mistake,
be happy for your problems.
Yeah.
Like your problems are an opportunity to improve.
Yeah.
I mean, that has been critical to our culture change. Just saying, hey, how many times have you had somebody sweep a problem under the rug because they were too afraid to say, I really screwed this up. I made a mistake. And to be able to say, thank you so much for making a mistake. You're awesome.
Yeah.
Let's get together and figure out an improvement. And that has just been transformative. Just people speaking up and feeling like it's okay.
Yeah. Did EO help you with some of that navigating?
100%.
And how did you bring it to your foreman? How did that work?
Yeah. I think the leadership format that EO pushes you into, I say push, maybe pull a little bit too. Because like you get inspired by the other groups, the other forums that are doing great work, the other people in EO that are doing great work. And you're just like, how is Robert kicking so much butt? What is he doing? I need to get a little of that juice. And so the leadership structure in forum specifically was really helpful for me. I didn't know that I liked that kind of thing, moderating a forum or leading leaders. I didn't know that that was something that I enjoyed. And, you just kind of get introduced to it. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, cool. This is great. And you have resources to learn how to get better at it. And then before you know it, that skill can transfer to your business in a really positive way, because leading leaders in a scaling organization is so critical. So that in that bucket, the EO experience has been just invaluable. And, just a platform to share. I mean, who doesn't need a shoulder to cry on as an entrepreneur? And you can't do that everywhere. The giving that happens in EO is pretty powerful. You're doing it right now. We're giving back, right? And that's been pretty great. I mean, you ask and somebody will stand up and say, no problem.
Yeah, what do you get excited about for the future of Tennessee Cheesecake?
Oh, all kinds of stuff. Just like fantastic, amazing stuff. The team is so good now and so passionate and energized. We have 77 employees.
Oh, wow.
And there's
two shifts?
So we do one shift production and second shift sanitation. So in a food manufacturing environment, you have to wash, rinse, and sanitize your equipment every day. So we set it all up, run cheesecakes all day, and then at the end of the shift, we break it down, clean it, hot water hose down the whole plant. So, there's a team that does that, a smaller team, and then the first shift production team is, delivering value to our customer.
Wow.
They're the ones making the cakes. And those are the folks that have become so passionate and so energized with like learning and growing. And it's just like it makes me, I get emotional thinking about it. They're just so amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's also amazing. You have a product that you cannot help to like put a smile on your face when you're
cheesecakes?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I don't know. Do you still enjoy cheesecakes?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't eat a lot of cheesecake. But so you have to tasting our product is an important part of the process. So you got to taste every batch.
Yeah.
100%. So, there's like a sensory evaluation that happens, but the test kitchen and the R&D lab is pretty fun.
That's the job I want.
Yeah. Right. It's like, I tell them it's kind of like Andy Warhol's studio. There's not any rules. You can just do whatever you want.
Oh, wow.
And then of course, like at some point you got to add in the rules as we like take it from the test kitchen to production. But those folks are they're magicians, just totally incredible. They're creative and they know all the intricate ins and outs of the bakery. Because you got to be creative within you got to know what paint and brushes you have to be able to create.
And that has been a
amazing
challenge, like getting into manufacturing, moving out of the house and starting your own manufacturing. I mean, you probably had several manufacturing facilities before this new one, right?
Yeah. So kitchen, basement, West Nashville. And then we had a really interesting thing happen when we moved to Mount Juliet. So this was maybe 4 years into my like full-time involvement with the bakery. We got a phone call and they were like, would you like to buy our pie company? And I was like, tell me more. And it was this pie bakery in Mount Juliet called the Pie Basket. And I thought about it and I was like, okay. And I talked to them. And they sent me some pictures of their place. And I was like, we sampled their product and we went out to their bakery and looked at it. And I made them an offer. And I said, it was like a no cash deal. And we would buy all their equipment, make their product for them, and we would make it at cost and the margin would go back towards paying for the equipment and the purchase of the business. And I thought, there's no way in hell they're going to go for this. I didn't even tell my mom I was working on it. And they just said yes. And I was like, holy moly.
Look what you've gotten into.
I was like, Mom, I did this thing. Or I did this thing. And like, they said yes. And like, you want to come see it?
You know how many businesses are functioning right now where the owner is like tired and wants to put up the white flag and just say,
right,
I surrender?
Because it's a struggle every day.
It is a struggle, especially, think about all those business owners that are running their business. They're not an NEO.
Mm-hmm.
They have no peer network. They may not have had any formal training, or they may went to school for business admin or something. It's like that helped none whatsoever. They don't have any real world experience, and they are stressed, not making any money, and they're barely keeping the lights on a business. Then they are hating life. They would
especially
beg to get
food.
a job somewhere else and quit.
Yeah, if you're in food, for some reason, I don't know why this is, but everybody thinks they can start a food business. I mean, we get...
Well, hell, that's the story of E-Myth is a bakery.
A couple calls a day. Right. A couple calls a day. And they're just like, I've got this pie and I'm about to sell it to Walmart. And we're like, you are you? That's so interesting. Can you tell me about that? It's just not happening, right? But it's something about food. So yeah, you're right. Like, or, maybe you have an expertise or something and you don't realize that it's going to be as complicated.
At the end of the day, let's take a step back. It's the American dream.
Of course.
That you could literally make something out of your kitchen everybody wants. And then it's really this fantasy. And that's the whole story of E-Myth, is this woman who's, oh, Susie makes such great cakes.
Who doesn't have a grandma that makes the best pie?
Of course. Right. Of course.
Shouldn't everybody eat this pie? Yeah. Can't we all get rich making a pie?
Yes.
Please don't start a pie bakery, Robert. It's not a good idea.
Actually, I got excited. It was like, maybe there's another pie shop to open up for business I could buy. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so we bought this company, and because I had brokered this deal, it turned out to be a really great opportunity for us. And the folks that own the Pie Basket are fantastic. I'm still really good friends with them till today. And it forced us to level our game up faster than we were.
Because they had a running facility.
Yeah, it was about 3 times bigger than where we were. And it was a huge upgrade for us. And, it's kind of like that idea of, you build it and they will come. And that's happened to us over the years. Just every time we invest in some kind of capability or some kind of new process or product, or we spend money for a client, good things happen. So
when you level up the facility, you have more capacity, and then there's like a pressure to fill the capacity, find customers. I mean, you're taking a couple gear shifts because you're like, all right, I got more capacity. Oh shit, now I need more customers, right? Mm-hmm. And you're chasing the customer, and then you get too many customers, and you got to how do you navigate? Like, are you thinking like strategically? All right, I have this facility, I could add another shift, or I can add more square footage. Like, how does that? How do you dangle that?
It is we still aren't very good at it. It is very complicated. So, it's multifaceted from how many of this cheesecake can you make, but also like, if you're going to be a custom shop, what are your offerings to prospective clients? What does that look like to them? And does that align with your strategic sales goals? So, we need to keep the bakery open 5 days a week just so we can employ our staff properly. And I think that used to be our biggest struggle because we're very seasonal, and we still are today. So you can imagine everybody wants a cheesecake in the fourth quarter and less so in the summertime. And so we just kind of do this up and down throughout the year. And in the summer, it used to be so slow, we would just close.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, 100%. It was like, 3 or 4X in the fourth quarter. And, you would just And when you're really super tiny, you hit the bottom and like the bottom is below zero. Right? It's like, well, we can either like close forever or close for a month and everybody go on vacation. And then we had some really great employees. One of them is actually, she has worked for us for almost 35 years. Her name is Nora Gower. She worked for my mom all the way back in the basement. And she took many summers off. She would just get another part-time job and she'd come back when the bakery was open again. And, that's still a struggle today. We've tried to sell into markets that would be heavy during the summertime, but we do what we do best, which is restaurants. And restaurants, anybody listening to this that runs a restaurant will be like, I hear what Will's saying. Summer is Deadsville. As soon as school starts back, zing.
Oh, wow.
So
when thinking about EO, what was Will like before you joined EO?
Oh my gosh. I was a 35-year-old know-it-all. And, I have this tendency to try to figure it out myself. And I did that for about 35 years too long. And, it took me so long to figure out that I needed to be in an EO. It's hard to see the value without sitting in the chair.
Yeah, right?
It doesn't explain well.
Dude, you know what? If the city said, you know what? If you're going to have a business in Nashville, you got to sit in on a forum as a bystander for 3 hours and you'll get a business license. That business owner would
like
be
the prerequisite.
It would be 10 times more successful.
Right.
Like he would be like, oh shit. Yes. Okay. So here's my money. Take my money. Like I want to join. Cause if you were like me, like the first year was like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do.
Yeah.
But in a good way. It was like, I was inspired to do it. A lot of the things that I don't know about you, but that I learned in EO, I had been reading those things, but I didn't do those things. It was like, and I think that's what happens with me anyways, is like, as I've gone to different nerve conferences and different, gatherings, I'm hearing some of the same things I knew that I needed to do, but I haven't taken action on.
Right. Just take action now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait. Like, that's like the curse of like all business.
Yeah.
Like the ideas that were never done. Like, just think about all those great ones.
Yeah.
And who cares about those? Because nobody did them.
Now you, unfortunately, Eric Jackson isn't here today, and you were starting to tell me a story about your first visit with him.
So you can probably tell I'm like a eager talker. I was then too. And we were doing a little roundtable thing where it's faux experience share. You're in a forum setting as like a test out EO for just like new member meet and greet. And Eric was at my table and he said, does anybody have a problem that they're struggling with that they want to share about? And I was like, I'll share. And I did this, and it was people oriented. Because back then people were my problem always, right? But what was
not a problem? Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And he said, Will, have you read this book called Traction? And I said, no, but I will. And so I did. And that book is still in our business library. And it's the same one I bought when Eric said, go buy it. And it's got the little Post-it notes and all my notes in the margin. And I lease it out to folks and they can read it just like all our other books. And, that story was the very first time I had taken advice from another entrepreneur and executed on it. And it changed my business. We run EOS now, level 10 dashboards, the quarterlies, annuals, this idea of having rocks and goals and feeding them to your team. It's just, you just that one little thing.
Yeah. Wow.
And that happens all the time in EO. You just get that one little thing that can be the nugget that
So what if you were advising a new entrepreneur, maybe new to Nashville,
Mhm.
and they're joining EO? What would be some experience share? What would be the path you would walk them to get the best experience they could get?
That's a great question. Be open-minded and patient, and also give. So I mentioned that earlier, and I think that's every time I have given, I have always received. And I have taken that to the next level recently, and it's paid me back 100-fold.
Mm,
So don't be afraid to share what you know,
yeah.
even if you think you don't know anything,
Yeah.
because your experience counts too.
Yeah.
And that's just how you get going, faster.
Mm,
And you got to get out there. You got to put yourself out there too. It took me a while to start doing that. And, because I don't know if I would be social on purpose. I'm just not that kind of person. But it's helped me be better at being social.
yeah.
Just being like, I'm going to go to the thing.
Yeah. That's really a good point about this be social thing. Cause I think a lot of entrepreneurs are so head into the books and doing the work. When they get out to a social environment, like it is a transition for a lot of people to really get comfortable with being around other people that really at the end of the day, like these are our fellow peers, like these of any group.
Yeah, but
you're
we're weird, Robert.
we're all weird.
We're weird, like especially weird. And you feel like you're the only one, but it's not true.
We're all
It's just not true.
weird, yeah.
Yeah.
That is a really good point.
Yeah.
Well, I like your weirdness.
Hey, thanks, man. Well, what else do you want to talk about?
Is there in your, when you think about your business, what is your unique ability that you're just great at? Since you mentioned EOS and traction,
Yeah.
have you found that thing that your unique ability that when you were doing that, you're just excelling in the business, loving what you're doing?
I hope so. So I think it's my passion and my energy. And I really have grown to have a deep respect for my team. And I think that being so real and visceral is my unique ability.
Mm.
Like I will hot coals, man, just right over them for my team. Whatever they need,
Yeah.
I'm going to get it for them. Like that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
So it's like that. You hear it tossed around, being a servant leader. But that's who I am.
Yeah. And I think that passion comes from, your love of the business. I think that passion and I think that's part of what EO has been doing and maybe not even vocalizing very well, but like, I think we have the ability to, if we can do what we love in our work and then get to a point where we can actually start to teach that and get them to start doing what they love, that passion like trips over. And then they're like, oh, they're in that flywheel of they're doing it because they love the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, that's when the culture starts to spin.
Yeah.
And things starts to
We've
work.
done that with improvement. So we just have this incredible improvement culture. Like literally my entire team is just focused on making improvements every single day. And not giant improvements, just little tiny ones. Little bitty ones. And it's fun. It's fun. And you share them with the team. And that pulls other people in. And then all of a sudden, everybody's an improver.
Yeah.
And that's how you get really good.
That's how you get really good.
Yeah. So if you want to experience our culture, we love to have guests. Love, love, love. You can sign up for a tour of the bakery, a lean thinking tour on our website. So you just go to TennesseeCheesecake.com, click on lean tours, and you can sign up right on our website.
Leantours.com.
No, TennesseeCheesecake.com. and then you click on lean tours.
No, yeah. Let me, you did great and I fucked it all up. So to do a tour, TennesseeCheesecake.com.
Yep. Yeah, you go to TennesseeCheesecake.com and then click on Lean Tours, and there's a page where you can sign up right there on our website. Super easy, super simple to come get a tour.
Awesome. Will, thank you for joining me.
Yeah.
Listen, if you are an entrepreneur in Nashville, Tennessee, and you're looking to connect with other driven entrepreneurs, just like Will, here in Nashville, making an impact, developing their team, getting better each and every month, you can visit eonashville.com and learn how over 350 of these other entrepreneurs gather together in a monthly forum of 8 other people and help make important decisions in our lives and our businesses. Please visit eonashville.com for more details. Thanks for watching and hope to see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Decision Podcast by Nashville EO. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.